Hi, yo. This is Hada from Reno, yo. Right? In this video, I'm going to talk about all the different things that I'm being accused of, yo. Right? There's a list of things, yo, that I'm being accused of being involved in or controlling. That I've no involvement in at all, yo. Right? There's a list of things, yo, right? Actually, yo, we're not gonna do that video, yo. We're gonna do a different video, yo, right? Now that I think of it, right? Today, we're gonna talk about this person named James Roscoe, right? This person named James Roscoe, right? The guy James Roscoe. For some reason, now I don't know why, yo, right? Keeps getting blamed for Sushiitto, yo, right? Never shit gets sued, yo. He gets blamed for that, yo, right? Sushiitto, right? Whenever people group together and say, hey, we're gonna sue something or someone, yo, they go out to eat sushi, yo, right? So we're gonna talk about this guy James Ross a little bit, yo. For some reason, yo, and it's not the first time it happened, yo. It didn't happen once, yo. It didn't happen twice, yo. This guy James Ross, yo, just something about the guy, yo, keeps getting blamed for Sushiitto, yo, right? So there's something about James Ross I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk one thing he got blamed for, yo, right? James Ross, yo. How the guy gets blamed for pulling teen yo? The guy got blamed, yo, for pulling teen yo, right? We're gonna talk about how James Ross a little bit. He got blamed for pulling teen yo, right? So let's consider the concept that we all see different generations. Sometimes those aren't just different generations, right? Sometimes there's a little bit more to it, right? There's still a level to it where I'm going to try to say how to design the different generations in the timeline that sometimes younger people are a little bit, not just in a different generation, but more favored than older people, right? This starts happening a little bit now. There's a lot of different reasons why that is, right? So when they wait around in places in this world for people to, for example, attend schools, we're talking colleges specifically, but actually in this context, we're talking about teenagers. When they're going to attend high school, that's when they're going through so much. I know who they were in other lifetimes, right? And who they were in other timelines, right? They start realizing by age 16, 17, that they were someone a long time ago, right? And you know what they come up with, They come up with that poem teen yo, right? But James Ross is like the one guy, that got blamed for that poem teen yo. He's the main guy that got blamed for poem teen yo. But everybody has got the poem teen yo, and they wait a long time to see what's going on. With a lot of these younger individuals in our society, in terms of that, they're poem teen yo, right? They're turning into what age? by 14, all of a sudden, so many of these people, younger individuals in our society, are just spitting fire, right? In terms of poetry, in terms of how they're articulating the thought forms of that ancestral energy, right? That ancestral hurt and pain and knowledge and historicity, right? Interesting concept, though, is how long did they wait for that, though, to see what's going on with these younger individuals in our society in terms of the poem of the younger individual in their teen years. Look out, that's what she said, girl. She really likes the car, girl. It's gonna crack your leg, girl. It's so long, the poem's teen, that James Ross specifically got blamed for. Well, that happened at one of the schools in New York, whatever it is. Had a guy got blamed poem teen, but people might have waited 30 years ago, sometimes 50 years. Right now, so poem's teen is then also now a code that we're using to refer to something else, right? We're actually referring to, we're using poem's teen as a code, to actually refer to co-starring in videos that pretty girls did at 19, right? Now, what does that mean? That's something they probably waited a long time for also, right? In other digital identities of mine, I've definitely mentioned how mushrooms worship smell like, right? Sometimes it has to do with mushrooms themselves. Mushrooms help us process the negative energy or face the negative energy. Part of our dark histories and ancestry, right? And then now we can articulate the thought forms of that energy into poetry. For example, sometimes marijuana is used for this also, right? People take the talks, and then they write the lines, right? It gets them to work through their ancestral historicity on an energetic level, right? And that's energetic, and that translates into dialects, right? Poetry. Now, how long did they wait? Well, when they wait, they have waiting periods. Who knows about waiting periods? For what? A few different things. You want enjoyment out of your life, right? And sometimes you gotta work, you gotta make money, you gotta save, right? Things like that. When there's something about waiting periods, wait the system a little bit, and then we have to understand. Sometimes it has to do with different generations a little bit, obviously. So what poem thing is, it's co-starring, it's a code for co-starring videos, pretty girls in 19, but that is what waiting periods, what are they doing when they're waiting for those periods? You're any waiting period, you're at work, you're going to school, you're waking up, you're sleeping, that's a waiting period. What are you gonna eat? And what if you get sick? What is your understanding of medicine during all these waiting periods? When you're in class, what are you gonna eat? After class is over, what are you gonna, you understand, right? So the understanding of co-starring videos of pretty girls at 19, right? Being coded with poems teen role, is they had large waiting periods, to see what's going on with the younger generation, poems teen role, right? And they had certain understandings that died in medicine during those waiting periods. That there's this list of food items, and then there's this list of food items. It's simple. This list of food items is acidic. This list of food items is alkaline. All right, if you understand blood pH levels and how to live a healthy lifestyle, when it really comes down to it, there's conventional health and there's alternative health. There's good and bad to both, right? But after waiting periods, such long periods of time, of this list of food items that are acidic, right? That's the same concept of almost being in hostage with certain food items, or certain understandings of medicine, right? People have different understandings of diet and medicine all across the planet, And there's different understandings of diet and medicine, many times with different generations, sometimes in the same exact race, right? For many different reasons, because they're in the system, right? So Poem Zero is the code that we're using for that concept. Co-started being pretty goes in 19. And then if that happened to an aspect of the older generations, the idea, the agenda that they have, and this isn't my agenda, another thing that someone got blamed for, is they want to project that accountability. Whose fault is that accountability? Snake's hungry, whose fault is it? It goes into the world of law a little bit. Sometimes law isn't who's breaking laws, and sometimes it's just a form of ownership, right? Now, the main way that the human race has been being owned by sometimes other humans, but even other entities, is many times on medicinal dietary level. Right? So that co-starring videos with Pretty Girl 19, agenda, coded my Poem Zero, got projected onto the populations of humans all across the planet. Right? It has to do with many times the school system, but it also has to do with going out to eat and social events and ceremonial events, religious events, sports events, all these events and social gatherings and formal gatherings, right? Like school, religion, and work many times are structured in a certain way that involves certain understanding of diet and medicine. Right? Now that is the actual concept of ghost story videos for Pretty Girls in 18. Some people think the planet got taken over with a virus. That just is going to be, you know what I mean? Because that we're just dealing with the concept if someone dies from COVID-19, right, in Beijing, and then someone dies from COVID-19, it's a universal concept. You died from COVID-19. In Sao Paulo, there's a good chance they died from something different, but it was just called COVID-19, right? And there's a good chance if they have a vaccine for COVID-19 in Melbourne, Australia, and vaccines for COVID-19 in, well, Seattle, not a good option. Boston, Massachusetts, there's a good chance that those are probably different vaccines. You understand the concept? It's just a universal concept. If you died from something, right? And I'm Sushiitto. So Yuri, my nigga, right? That's for another time. You know, I'm Sushiitto. And then something wrong with me. Got blamed for something, right? That content, that they were being toasted by something, where they ended up in form of being toasted, right, with serpent food items, right, and serpent understandings of medicine. That is the very same exact concept, because we think, is it a virus that took the whole planet over, or is it a concept being toasted, right? Now you don't want to be toasted, right? They projected that understanding onto the younger generations and the populations of humans, co-starring videos with Pretty Girls in 19, right? Now, I'll talk about it a little bit. They're in something called the Anunnakis, right? And they have accountabilities. And sometimes it's like older dark creatures eating young beautiful creatures, right? That's the understanding of nature. All across Tamas, which is Sanskrit for physical worlds, there has been predatory hierarchies of deity races, of beings, of entities that are infected with this need to consume other beings. You understand the concept? And we consider Gnostic mythos to communicate with people a little bit more about what that is about. It has to do with something about Orcons and all this other BS, and the demiurgos and stuff, how to design palas, right? From Logons, we know another story. But what you gotta understand is that concept of older being and younger being, or just predatorily infected beasts, and not predatorily infected vegan fauna, right? That understanding with the Anunnaki in our advanced societies of humans, for example, becomes more hierarchical in terms of different generations, right? Where the Anunnakis process their accountabilities by just watching it. Right? That's the understanding where we're not trying to harm physical beings in the physical dimension as much as possible. Right? That's the understanding of watching, generally speaking, that there is accountability. Reverse accountability, proof I'm dealing with something. Right? So, co-star in the video Pretty Girls 1919 got projected onto, I wouldn't say the younger generations, right? When they work for money that they're earning, or they being financially supported, right? That's the first thing you're thinking about. To do what? What are you being financially supported for? You want to work for your own money, and then left to your own devices, with digital devices, all across the planet, you can go do whatever you want, right? But sometimes, that's the start of the conflict, right? Now, that got projected from an aspect of the older generation onto the population all across the planet. It's a very simple understanding all across the planet. It's a very universal concept of co-starring videos with pretty girls that are 19, right? This is from Reno, yo. So you guys got to understand the concept that I'm trying to relay to my viewers. Right? I want to thank you guys for being present for the broadcast. And stay those, right?